Plus, we have brand new Sierras, $14,000 off list, or starting at $37,105, or 0.9% APR on select new models. Yes, you heard right. $14,000 off or 0.9% APR on new Sierras starting at $37,105. So please check us out at coppelcars.com. All deals with roof credit, stock number G289358.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Have you been injured in an accident and don't know where to turn? You need an attorney you can trust to handle your case with professionalism and compassion. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group understand that a call to an attorney is a call for help. If you've been injured, we want to help you. Liberty Law's experienced attorneys are committed to the pursuit of justice for those injured. Call Liberty Law and find out how we can help you get the compensation you deserve. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. Call the trial attorneys you can trust. 877-42-LIBERTY.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Rick Heyman here from Starter Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Starter Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at starterheyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
This isn't any regular heat. This is nuclear heat. Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bockoven.
That's right, it is nuclear heat a little bit early here on a Sunday night. I got to get my days right. Of course, nuclear heat is every Sunday night, generally from 9 to 10 o'clock at night, but we bumped up the wrestling talk because just Chris Glarvich couldn't make it in this evening for 6 p.m. in Lincoln. He will be back next week, so if you're looking for Chris and his excellent show with a variety of great guests that he's provided with us, we'll be back next week. No need to worry. He will be back. But I am Jake Bockoven. Again, I'm here for Nuclear Heat, our WWE Week in Review show. And what a fantastic week it has been in wrestling. Again, we kind of bring this up often on this show, but sometimes there's a bit of a lull going after WrestleMania. But now we're getting so close to SummerSlam, and it just feels like they are hitting on a lot of strides here, making a lot of progress in some of these feuds that they've got going on, and really just making it interesting. I'm interested to see the King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring format, how that's been going. I think has been fantastic, kind of big time matchups that we're seeing and big opportunities there. It makes it somewhat unpredictable about who's going to win, as we saw a couple of veterans face off in the King and Queen of the Ring semifinals here this past week. But altogether, it's just one of those deals where there are 4 premium live events in 5 days worth of premium live events, as SummerSlam is 2 days this year, in the next 42 days. Generally, every month, you'll kind of get a premium live event, so you think about one every 30 days. Right now, again, we have 4 of them in the next 42 days, and more of this, a lot of this is coming again from WWE and TKO, the parent company of WWE now, expanding networks, I should say, because they got to pay off a lot of entertainment and big time matchups to a lot of people now. You see from the NBC Peacock crowd, of course, Peacock holds all of their premium live events on their app, but on the NBC side, they've had to make these Saturday night main events really pop. And once again, they've got a matchup for that, Gunther and Goldberg. We'll get to that here in a second. Yes, I said Goldberg. It is 2025. Don't check your calendar. But I'd love to see Goldberg back in the action, as I say that with fun, because of all the older competitors coming back. He was always one of my favorites and still looks like a guy that you wouldn't want to meet in the middle of an alley. We'll put it that way. But like I was saying, so they got to pay off all these different sponsors. Of course, Netflix holds Monday Night Raw now as we kind of look forward to things. So there's just a lot. And then kind of your traditional cable network with what they do with SmackDown as well. So they got to feed a lot of mouths, and that doesn't leave a whole lot of room for unnecessary matchups, just to be honest with you. Part of these 2-3 hour weekly shows that they do in SmackDown and Raw, that can be a lot of wrestling. That can be a lot of storylines that you have to juggle there if you're booking the thing. And so once in a while, you get a few feuds, the deals that I call popcorn matches, which is basically if you're at the event, okay, here's a matchup. They're bringing it up that really doesn't have anything to do with the title picture or an interesting feud. And so that's the time you get up and get your popcorn and go to the bathroom or whatever it might be, or at home, you go and check on, take the dog out, whatever you need to do. They just don't have a whole lot of these that I look back at this week. I don't know if there was even a segment that I would say, not everything is can't miss. Don't get me wrong, but everything seems to be connecting. And that's something I kind of said and had said before about, when you go back to the Attitude Era and why everybody loved it and why it worked so well. And again, I always try to hold people accountable. Not every single second of the Attitude Era was great. There was plenty of fails and things that they attempted to do then that didn't work even at the time, and plenty of things that they did then that did work at the time that wouldn't work in today's culture. But in any case, it just seemed like there was, everybody kind of had it out for each other, and the locker room seemed kind of real, like anybody could run into it at a certain sort of time. And now more characters are kind of getting into it. And, we'll get to the Liv Morgan injury, which is really unfortunate because she's probably the best example of this. In that she just had feuds being set up left and right? She's the tag team champion with Raquel Rodriguez. So whoever was going to come up there, she went after Nikki Bella in her return last week, and then was setting up at the start of Raw here this week to go after Io Sky and her champion. So, and Liv Morgan, again, has been one of my favorite wrestlers over the last couple of years. Certainly this last year has done a good job. So just kind of feels that way. And so, again, all these things kind of connecting to make some very good programming. If you haven't watched the WWE in a while, again, there are times that I would say to go back and do it, and there are times when I'd say, you might want to hold off for now if you want to get suckered back in. This is a good time, I feel like. And again, if I would have fantasy book every single thing, it wouldn't come out exactly the way that they have done it, but it keeps me entertained. Again, there's matchups here where I don't know exactly what's going to happen, which a lot of the times is rather predictable. And there are matches ups, again, that sometimes predictable wrestling can be good wrestling if it's setting up the appropriate story in all of that. So plenty to break down here. I have to warn you, might have heard me say, well, Jake, you're a little long-winded today. Let's bring in Augie. Well, there's an important time in every wrestler's life where his tag team may have gotten over, and at some point he needs to break off the tag team. And you find out if you're a single star or if you're Mario Jannetty. Again, going back to that, that's basically the classic example there where obviously HBK, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, was the single star of that tag team. And there's plenty of tag teams like it. Of course, Otis might be in a better position, not in the best position he's ever been. Of course, one time a Money in the Bank winner. But remember, his partner from his original tag team is nowhere to be seen. That's so often happens with tag teams. Well, today is what I'm doing. I'm breaking away from Augie. I'm trying to see if I can do Nuclear Heat by myself as a single star. And the crowd will come running and ask for me to be a champion. No, we're just kidding. He's still my tag team partner. He just is feeling a little ill for the evening. So I figured I'd go ahead and give it a go. Much like we saw this week, we did see somebody that was almost in action, I should say, didn't quite get there. Kit Wilson of Pretty Deadly was attempting a singles match. That did not go too well. So hopefully I'll look around and make sure Ron Killings doesn't jump out of here and start beating me down. But, a lot of fun to be had there. So let's go ahead and get into it. Again, I mentioned these 4 premium live events that are coming up. So as we look into it and some of the matchups that we already know for them and the excitingness of it, June 28th will be Night of Champions. So that's next Saturday from Saudi Arabia. That's where we will have the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament. Of course, this year, the King of the Ring, the Queen of the Ring will punch their ticket to have a title opportunity at SummerSlam. So that will be very exciting. A lot on the line there. We also know that AJ Styles and Dom Mysterio will fight for the IC title that night as well. Plenty more of that card to come out, I'm sure, here as we get kind of through the programming this week. June 12th will be Saturday night's main event from Atlanta, Georgia. Important because Goldberg's a part of this. Gunther versus Goldberg will be the main event in all likelihood, I would assume, for Saturday night main event there with the championship on the line. That, again, comes to us June 12th, so not too long to wait for there. They've paired that Saturday night main event with Evolution, which is going to be on Sunday. Evolution, the all-women's premium live event, will be July 13th. And, man, there's some matchups that I thought, and some things that they're doing that are intriguing that might lead to this Evolution matchups, because I still don't know exactly what they're pairing, right? They brought back Nikki Bell. Looked like they were going a certain way. Now they're going to have to change their plans a little bit with what they're doing with the injury to Liv Morgan. But they've just got some interesting stuff coming up this week that we'll get to that I thought maybe could have been held off to Evolution. But we'll see. Maybe it's all part of a story to make a bigger story for Evolution. But that'll be fun weekend. Again, July 12th and 13th, Saturday night main event on Saturday, Evolution on Sunday. So again, if you want to get back into WWE, that would be a good time to do it, as long as you don't have somebody there telling you that's enough wrestling for the weekend. I'd certainly imagine my wife, who loves wrestling and lets me watch it all the time, might get a little overloaded that evening, because that's a lot. But in any case, we'll have fun with it. August 2nd and 3rd will be SummerSlam. So again, 4 premium live events, 5 days worth of it in the next 42 days. But we got plenty to talk about if you want to talk some wrestling along with me. 402-464-5685 is the Sartor Heyman text line. And again, I'll be here all hour long talking some wrestling. Let's break into it. We usually get into our SmackDown and Raw review, where we kind of break down what's going on, and we will do that. But I do also want to just get to kind of the big topics at the top first, kind of give you my impression, my opinion on what we've got going on there. I'll start with the return of Goldberg, which we saw on WWE Raw from Green Bay this past weekend. Goldberg, of course, it's been a few years since he came back and won the world title. Remember, he actually came back and took it from The Fiend at one point in time a few years ago. And when I say a few years, they all blend together. That might have been 5 years ago now. I don't know how long ago it was. But it was kind of interesting. Goldberg making his return. They always do a great job, as WWE always does. One of the best things they do is their promos, their package videos that they put together to get you excited for his return. And they're doing a great job of that. But Goldberg comes and challenges Gunther for the World Championship. And this is interesting because it ties into a lot of the kind of their plans and thought process that we've seen both past and in the future, right? Because Gunther just took the title back from Jey Uso. Gunther, in fact, in this promo said Jey Uso was the better man at WrestleMania, but every other night, Gunther is untouchable. And the fans were chanting for Goldberg because basically Gunther was trying to say what's coming up next for him. And the internet kind of got ahead of this story. So the WWE fans kind of already figured Goldberg might be the one next in line for Gunther. There was, in fact, a lot of reports out there that the title change was made from Jey Uso, back to Gunther for a match with Goldberg. And of course, they had already done a segment a few months back of Gunther basically challenging Goldberg, who was in the front row, and talking some trash to him about his family, which got Goldberg out of the seats and kind of started the rumors. But then you kind of look at, all these months later, getting back to it, it's okay, now Gunther is the champion again. And so we'll see this again at Saturday night main event. I thought it was a rather short segment for a Goldberg return. I know if it had been like a decade maybe since he had returned, I think they would prop it up a little bit. I mean, you kind of think about the last night, and remember, he is one of those guys that did come over from WCW. I know a lot of people remember him from his WCW time, but did have a brief stint in the WWE where his run there was not nearly as spectacular it was in WCW. Of course, the undefeated streak, many of the WCW guys did not get booked all that well, I should say, going over to WWE. So he had this long break, came back, and it was kind of a big deal a few years ago. This time, I was just surprised. They just did it in the middle of a Raw. I wouldn't even say the middle. It was like the back end of the first hour, or maybe it was might have been into the second hour there. But altogether, it just didn't feel maybe as big as I would have made a Goldberg return. They also did not do The classic knock on the locker room, slowly puffing and puffing his way through the back locker room again to make it his way. And I always thought that was really special for Goldberg. I mean, that kind of builds the anticipation, the excitement of him coming to the ring. And they didn't do that this time either. So it's just kind of weird because all this had again, I had a lot of moving parts to it. If you're going to take the strap off Jay to give it to Gunther, wouldn't you want to hype this up as much as you can? And of course, for in their defense, again, I said Raw was pretty darn good all throughout, and they've got some other storylines they were working on. I just thought that, I would have probably made this a little bit more of a bigger deal somehow. I mean, I don't think the Gunther promo and then Goldberg like you couldn't say, hey, Gunther's promo is going to be our main event tonight, or stay tuned for Gunther's promo. Like, you'd have to find some sort of way to make it a little bit more of a surprise or excitement element for Goldberg coming back. But I just thought they could have done that a little bit more. Now, moving forward and not looking at the past of it, as I do think that you've got a very good matchup between Goldberg and Gunther. Goldberg has long said, and even said on the station, he is friends with Adam Carricker after all, who has had a few interviews with him here on 93.7 The Ticket. But he said he never felt like he got the proper send-off from WWE. So this will perhaps provide an opportunity for that. But it's just kind of interesting because, a lot of the kind of the old timers, if you will, or past stars coming back. WWE was criticized years ago for kind of having them come in and win. And again, Goldberg would be a prime example of that, coming back and beating The Fiend, which, and again, I'm a huge fan of Goldberg. The Fiend had already kind of diminished a little bit of the monster character at that point, because they already had him lose a Hell in a Cell match by basically stopping the match because we were worried about his well-being against Seth Rollins. One of the worst booked matches of all time, where they were leaving the premium live event. You could hear the crowd booing and upset that that's what the way it was doing, because it doesn't make any sense for the Fiend character, who's supposed to have almost demonic powers. And then, it was kind of the commentators throughout that match were saying, remember, there's a person in there. And so, that was not necessarily great for the Fiend. But another thing that didn't work out for him was having Goldberg come back and win the title off of him right away and show that. So it's kind of interesting to see now as you look at it here. Gunther is a guy that, like him or not, they obviously love him. And you're not supposed to like him, by the way. He's supposed to be kind of the heel champion that's hard to beat. But kind of going outside of, kind of the basic fans thought there. If you like him as a performer, if you like him even as a heel or not. I know there are some that do, some that don't. But it's hard to imagine him losing to Goldberg. I mean, I think you could have similar type of feel that we did with the Fiend there, where it's like, man, this is your young star. You're building up. He's supposed to look, big and monstrous. And then Goldberg just comes in and beats him. And it would just be because he would have such a short title run as well. If you had Gunther defeat Jey Uso at WrestleMania, which again, I don't want to keep going back to it, because Jey Uso's open is still wildly over. I mean, there's definitely a spot on near the top of the card, I would say, for Jey Uso. I just don't think it was necessarily for that moment, but that's what they went with. And then to quickly take it off of him, give Gunther the belt, and then quickly to have Goldberg come in and spear him and get the victory. That would just feel like too many title changes too quickly. And again, it wouldn't feel like it would. Gunther needs to kind of build himself back up now because of the damage that his character has taken from that Jey Uso loss. He's lost 2 big WrestleMania matches in a row now. So kind of this, the big match John he's got kind of John Cena, or different guys over the years have kind of got that. Gunther is kind of getting the opposite end of that. And so I think they almost have to protect him, let him win. Goldberg maybe kind of gives a grand salute on his way out, and we'll see. And of course, from there, you would think that Goldberg might be done with wrestling, or at least the WWE, because that's what he said. He wanted kind of one final send-off, and then maybe his next return would be bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think Gunther beats Goldberg at Saturday Night Main Event. Although if he does not, again, I think problematic for Gunther's character. That'd be pretty fun to have Goldberg on top one final time here in the year 2025. And again, I'll say this for Goldberg. Maybe doesn't look like he can pull off the jackhammer as well as he did back in 1999. He has had some matches in the last couple of years where his age has factored in. Some would say. but he's still, again, I think of all the aging guys over the years. You kind of remember that well, they almost kind of went away from the format altogether a few years ago in Saudi Arabia when they had Triple H and HBK go against Kane and Undertaker, and they were all like 50 plus, and it looked like everybody was 50 plus. So again, there's some deals you got to kind of work out if you're in wrestling. Goldberg's never had the longest matches to begin with. That's kind of part of his star factor is how quickly he can diminish you. So we'll see what they do there, but a lot of fun there to be had. I think we'll see with Goldberg. It just wouldn't universally be beloved if Goldberg wins, but while I don't think it's the right booking move, I wouldn't mind it because I do love Goldberg still from my youth, and I still think he looks pretty devastating. But again, I don't know if you want to put on 10, 15 minutes match. Some of the other big storylines coming out to this past week, Liv Morgan's injury. And this is a real injury, right? This looked like she had a very short match. And again, she just looks like she was going to be so involved with much of what they do. And so it just doesn't necessarily look to be good. They're going to have to change a lot of their plans. Liv Morgan had a match with Kairi Sane this last week, was called after a few minutes, looked to be a shoulder injury, dislocated shoulder, which could result in her missing several months here. And of course, Kairi Sane won by Liv Morgan no longer being able to compete there, but that matters less as far as what they're going to do with Liv. I mentioned earlier, they had her focused in on Io Sky here at the beginning of Raw this week. She just attacked Nikki Bella. She's got the women's tag team champions, but maybe more importantly to us here on Nuclear Heat, big fans of the Judgment Day, is how are they going to alter these plans now? Finn Balor has been positioning himself to basically break away from the group. And, do you put those plans on ice right now? And I think you almost have to, because Liv is such a big part of that story. And then what do you do with the tag team champions? Does Roxanne Perez get fully brought into the group and to work there, with Raquel Rodriguez as the tag team champions? I think that's probably the way that you go with it. And then, with Liv coming back again, have some angst and some, frustrations between her and Roxanne. And so we can always have our Judgment Day, what's going to happen next type of questions with the Judgment Day. There's always some type of drama going on there, regardless of who's in there. So I think this is a way that if used correctly, you can have some fun. And then Liv Morgan again, and maybe it's just me, maybe one of my top wrestlers right now in the industry, when she returns, I think we'll get a great deal of a cheer and excitement. So that will be exciting as well. Like I said, we'll talk more about the King of the Ring. John Cena had his own pipe bomb promo to go after CM Punk this last week. So we got still plenty to talk about. We're going to take a quick break here on Nuclear Heat. And when we come back, we will break this thing down show by show. We'll start off with Monday Night Raw. We'll finish off with SmackDown in the next segment. But don't go anywhere. I'm Jake Bockoven. We'll be back on Nuclear Heat, our WWE Weekend Review show right here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Rick Heyman here from Starter Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Starter Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at starterheyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
93.7 The Ticket is your home for every Kansas City Royals baseball game. Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, and the rest of the Royals attempt to make the postseason for the second season in a row. And you can hear all the action on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Your home for Kansas City Royals baseball.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning. Now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Bagels and Joe is the perfect place for breakfast or lunch in June. Try their brand new S'mores cold brew with graham cracker cold foam. Also try a S'mores croissant and add cake batter cream cheese to any bagel. 4 locations in Lincoln and 1 in Seward. Bagels and Joe.
Saturday. Eagle Raceway is open for a full season of dirt track racing action every Saturday night. Don't miss the epic battles on the high banks of Eagle Raceway each Saturday between the Nebraska Septic Sprint Cars, Nebraska Lottery Modifieds, Avid Realty Sport Mods, Valentino's Hobby Stocks, and A1 Iron Stock Cars. Let's go racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street. Check out the full schedule at eagleraceway.com.
At Fairway Meat Market, you're family, and as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Fairway has fresh cut meats, seafood, cheese, wine, and spirits, and a friendly staff that's always ready to help you find what you need. Stop by Fairway Meat Market today to plan your weekly meals in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
Hi, I'm Asher. I'm summer break and about to start 2nd grade. Thanks to awesome people like you who picked Aloe Fiber. They donated $193,000 to schools like mine. This summer, I'm using my fast internet to keep learning, and I can't wait to tell my teacher everything I discovered. So if you're a grown-up picking internet, choose Aloe, because Aloe chooses us, our schools, our town, and our future. Go to aloefiber.com to learn more.
Are you a skilled mechanic looking for your next opportunity? Nebco is hiring. They're looking for experienced mechanics to join our family-owned team. They offer competitive wages, great benefits, service trucks, OEM-level diagnostic software, and career growth opportunities. Apply today at nebco.com. Positions include lead and A-level mechanics for the Nebco shop. Learn more at nebco.com. If you're driven and ready to grow with a company that's been around since 1908, apply today at nebco.com.
Looking for a financial partner that truly makes a difference? Modern Woodman is a member-owned fraternal financial services organization. We can help you plan for all stages of life, from protection to saving to retirement. We also offer member benefits, social activities, and volunteer opportunities to help your family and community.
I'm Sean Erickson, your Modern Woodman representative in Lincoln. Call me at 402-483-6515 to start the conversation.
Modern Woodman of America. Touching lives, securing futures.
Hey Husker Nation, this is Todd Euler, 2-time national champion, here to talk to you about Window World Lincoln. At Window World, we specialize in replacement windows, doors, siding, and roofing. Whether you're looking to enhance the beauty of your home or increase its energy efficiency, we've got you covered. And here's the best part. We offer the best for less. Our team is dedicated to providing top quality products and exceptional service at affordable prices. We want to earn your business and make your home improvement dreams a reality. So why wait? Contact Window World Lincoln today at 464-7313 or visit our website at windowworldlincoln.com. Window World Lincoln, where quality meets affordability.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It's great to be back with you talking some wrestling here on a Sunday night. As, of course, there's plenty of champions crowned throughout WWE. A couple of different sports crowning their champion today, as we already saw the College World Series. LSU prevails. Then we'll have Game 7 of the NBA Finals tonight as well. So very exciting day in the sporting world. Make sure to tune in to our regular ticket programming tomorrow to hear all about that. But let's move on with our WWE Week in Review show as we get to Monday Night Raw from Green Bay, Wisconsin this past week. Again, already kind of had some thoughts about a few of the events there with Liv Morgan and Gunther, so I will briefly go over those in this segment. If you want to hear more of my thoughts, head to theticketfm.com after the show, as we will get it podcasted up there, or if you're on YouTube, just rewind a little bit. But let's go ahead and get into it. From Green Bay here, Monday Night Raw opened with Liv Morgan hitting the ring, accompanied, by Dirty Dom, who, when he attempted to speak again, got plenty of boos from the crowd. They need to do everything they can to keep it that way. Dom has been, has becoming more, I wouldn't say you want to go into a face, hasn't turned into a baby face, but the crowd is starting to endear him a little bit more. But part of the fun of Dirty Dom is continuing to boo him out. So hopefully they continue to do that. Crowds continue to do that. And they kind of were able to get a little bit more heat on him with this opening segment. But again, this segment altogether might not be worth a whole lot by the time we hit Monday Night Raw tomorrow, again, because of the Liv Morgan injury later in the show. But what they were doing here was positioning Liv to go after Io Sky. So she said she wanted to go after Io Sky's women's world title. Looked a little bit silly when she was asking if Io would just hand it to her. Obviously, that's not how it's done in the world of wrestling. But ultimately, Io did clear Liv and Dominic out of the ring. So it looked like it was maybe setting that up, maybe for Evolution or something pretty soon. And of course, Liv and Io would be great for a title. So hopefully, maybe they just put that on the shelf and get back to it down the line when Liv is able to return. From there, we had a Queen of the Ring qualifying match, of course, to get to the semifinals, I should say, between Ivy Niles, Stephanie Vaquer, Raquel Rodriguez, and a returning Asuka. Stephanie Vaquer, of course, the shiny new toy of the company, who's been very good and goes viral every time she hits a few of her moves there. She shined throughout this match. This was a long match, by the way, where everybody kind of got an opportunity to show off their skills. They actually even went through 2 commercial breaks through the action of this. So this was a long match that they had out there, which again is fair considering the level of talent there in the ring and what they were able to do. If you remember, Raquel Rodriguez had cost Rhea Ripley out of her Queen of the Ring match, and that was very much a story here. Rhea Ripley came back and cost Raquel Rodriguez the pin and the win. She hits a riptide on Raquel outside the ropes and delivers her back inside the ropes to Asuka, who hit her new finisher for the pin and the win. And Asuka moves on to the finals here of the Queen of the Ring. And Asuka, it's interesting too. This is a pretty good example of proof that time away can really provide a good reset for your character. Remember when Asuka was injured and kind of left the WWE several months ago before WrestleMania? She was just kind of part of Damage Control, but not necessarily at the forefront. And now that they bring her back, I think either they've used it, they're just maybe they're steering me in the wrong direction of believing it, but they're at least using her star power to make you believe that she can be that top singles star again. And she's being treated as a top talent upon her return. So again, sometimes a little bit away, a little bit of time off TV can help out your character quite a bit. And Asuka, I think at this point, has to be the favorite to win Queen of the Ring, if only because a matchup with Io Sky would be very interesting as they head into SummerSlam around the corner. So we'll see. Again, Asuka now is in the final. She will await the winner of the other side of the bracket to see if she will move on there. So we'll see what happens. That's tomorrow night to see who her opposing matchup will be there for the Queen of the Ring finals in Saudi Arabia at Night of Champions. We already mentioned the Gunther promo. This set up Goldberg to come out to challenge Gunther. Again, that matchup will be at Saturday Night Main Event. Give you my thoughts at the beginning of the show on that. Then we move on to JD McDonough and AJ Styles. This coming had to do around Dominic Mysterio's IC title, the Intercontinental title. Dom, before this matchup even started, told Finn Balor just to stay backstage since he was unable to get the job done against Styles. Remember, the story here is AJ Styles is kind of the top contender for Dominic Dirty Dom's IC title, and Finn was supposed to take care of him, was not able to do so. And so again, kind of interesting to see the dynamic change there. Finn Balor, always not the leader of that group, but one of the original, not one of the original members, of course, as this whole thing started off with Edge, but the most original member, I should say, left among the group. And it's interesting now that Dom has the title, is that he's kind of calling the shots here, which is fair enough. But Dom was at ringside, and even he wasn't enough to stop AJ Styles from getting the win, as AJ Styles did hit the Styles Clash to beat JD McDonough. And then Dom was going to go ahead and try to make an attack as well, and needed Finn Balor actually to come out and save him from taking a phenomenal forearm from AJ Styles, who just kind of punked the whole group. He posed with the U.S. title afterwards, so it does look like, and we do know now after a backstage segment later in the night, that AJ Styles will fight Dirty Dom for the IC title at Night of Champions here in less than a week. So that should be exciting. If I had to predict there, I do think Dirty Dom's title reign should continue. Of course, I'm a big fan of his. AJ Styles could use it, but I hate to say it to a degree, and sometimes it can help the title a little bit, but I don't know if AJ Styles winning here would help the U.S. title or make it more interesting. He feels a little bit above that to a degree at times, and that's thus making him a very good candidate to help put it over. So I think ultimately we see Dirty Dom getting the win. But again, of course, too, in pro wrestling, so often you can see, similar to what we saw with Gunther and Jey Uso, sometimes you're not doing the booking for your 6-month plan. Maybe it's 2 weeks, get it off him, put it back on him or whatever. And so it wouldn't hurt him long term. I don't think that, as much as I like Dominic Mysterio, I don't think he's necessarily destined to break Gunther's IC title reign of 666 days. I think at some point he probably will end up losing it. Let's go into Bayley's promo. Bayley claims she does everything for the fans. Of course, she has recently made her return and has her eyes focused squarely on the man Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch knows that. She comes out and agrees to defend her IC title against Bayley. That will happen tomorrow. So Monday Night Raw. Good reason to tune in there. Becky, by the way, was decked out in Chicago Bears gear, which was good. Her husband, Seth Rollins, a big Bears fan. And, of course, being in Green Bay, that's a good deal for the heel to wear there. Also, to make note of this, Lyra Valkyria makes it known backstage she still wants to get that belt back. Of course, the original winner of the IC title, and she told Bayley that if she wins it, she's coming after her. So kind of interesting to see how this goes, finishes. And I assume, again, I think they've got to kind of set this up for Evolution. Maybe that would kind of be the big thing, or SummerSlam less than a month after that. But I think we'll probably have a 3-way battle between Lyra Valkyria, Becky Lynch, and Bayley. That's an early prediction that looks like where they're going. But maybe we could see tomorrow night the title change hands. I just don't think we're quite ready for that, as Becky Lynch is talking about, something with the IC title. You say, I just went over the last AJ Styles JD McDonough match and say AJ Styles is above the IC title. So wouldn't the man Becky Lynch be? Well, Becky Lynch is, this is a new title. And so far you kind of got to make the title before it becomes something, right? And so the men's Intercontinental title is in a little bit of a different position than the new women's Intercontinental title. And this is what you would want from it. This is what I originally said when they brought it out, was give it to Bayley, give it to, at the time Becky Lynch wasn't there, so I wouldn't have necessarily thought that. And again, would have thought maybe even her star power was too high for it. But give it to somebody that is that over. So you realize at the time when you start it that this is a big title worth fighting for. It's not just a mid-card title. And at that time, of course, they introduced the IC title, the US title. They had Lyra Valkyria win it, Chelsea Green win it, and Chelsea Green, one of my favorite wrestlers as well. But that really kind of felt like, okay, well then this is definitely kind of in your mid-card territory, which it is. There's no argument around it. But again, you can try to make it feel bigger than what it is. And I think having Bayley and, of course, Becky Lynch hold it definitely kind of helps with the feeling over there as they go on. Of course, the next match we talked about, Liv Morgan and Kairi Sane. Unfortunate Liv Morgan injury there. So we had a pretty early into that match. So always interesting with wrestling. How do they adjust to it? Who gets more time, as they were kind of close to the end of the programming anyway. So maybe a little bit more time for Jey Uso, Rusev, Sheamus, and Bronson Reed, as they were fighting it out to see who could go to the finals of King of the Ring, the semifinals of King of the Ring as well. Before that, Karrion Kross confronted Sami Zayn backstage. Not much to say there. It's kind of the same old thing. Maybe at some point, I think we can get to this once we get into our SmackDown review. Maybe at some point, he's able to convince Sami Zayn to turn heel or go get frustrated. They need to do something with Karrion Kross, because he's lost his whole group. He's just kind of the backstage, and he's got like an Easter egg. Like every little thing that you see him doing backstage, you kind of point to it. But at some point, something has to come from this Karrion Kross character, or I just don't know if I care all that much about who he's talking to and what he's talking about. So, and he's great off the camera, out of kayfabe, when he's doing interviews out there, and kind of does his own promos. But his character is just tough to get behind, because it just doesn't have any And it's a lot of bark, not a lot of bite. Put it that way. So let's get back to the Jey Uso versus Rusev versus Sheamus versus Bronson Reed. Of course, Jey Uso, the world champion among the group. Of course, Sheamus has been as well, but he is a little bit smaller than everybody else in this ring. So it already looked like maybe a little bit of an underdog there in that way. If you're viewing it live, if you're viewing it from the other side of storytelling, he probably was the favorite here. And he did end up coming out winning. So his ribs were taped, but a lot of this had to do with people breaking into the match as Braun Breaker eventually showed up to prevent Uso from hitting a splash on Bronson Reed. Sami Zayn came out, and Penta followed him out to try to take down Braun Breaker's interruption, as well as Bronson Reed. And then eventually we have LA Knight come out and push Reed off the top rope before he was going to hit the tsunami, which allowed Uso to hit the splash to get the win, setting up Uso in Cody Rhodes for what will be, again, the semifinal match to get into King of the Ring, which will be this Monday. So setting up a good match will be exciting, and it'll be interesting to see what they do there. It looks like Cody, obviously, would be the favorite. I think there's a lot of different storylines that they're trying to make you look at this way and that way. But ultimately, this has got to end in Cody getting his rematch, I would assume, at SummerSlam as King of the Ring against John Cena. But could be wrong. I mean, but at this point, you're down to Jey Uso. It's either that or Jey Uso. And remember, they don't have to go after John Cena's title belt if they don't want to. They could go after Gunther. But again, it looks like that this is kind of headed that way. But it's either, John Cena against Randy Orton, which they already did. John Cena against Cody Rhodes, which is kind of telling the long-term story in WrestleMania, or John Cena versus Jey Uso, which would be kind of interesting and a fresh matchup. But in all likelihood, again, for the long-term storytelling, it's going to head to Cody and Cena rematch at SummerSlam. So that should be good. Let's go ahead and take a break. We've got another segment coming up here, our final segment on Nuclear Heat, where we review Friday night's action. SmackDown from Grand Rapids. We'll do that coming up next year on 93.7 The Ticket.
What do you look for when searching for a plumbing company? Integrity? Positive customer reviews? Are they insured and fully licensed? How about a company that has all three? Deals Plumbing in Lincoln is your go-to certified plumbing company that can help you fix anything from leaks to clogs, water heaters, and more. Give Deals Plumbing a call today at 402-525-7311, or you can visit Deals Plumbing online at dealsplumbing.com. 93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize to participate in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contests, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription, or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
Summer is here, and it's time for Acres postseason planter parts sale. Save big on all in-stock John Deere planter parts. Get an automatic 10% off your purchase, or get 15% off when you spend $5,000 or more. Buy over $10,000 and get a whopping 20% off. Visit your local Acres location today and stock up on planter parts and save thousands. Hurry, this sale ends August 31st or while supplies last. Acres, your John Deere dealer.
Lincoln's go-to for fun isn't new. It's a place that's been a staple of the city for years and is only getting better. Matson's Bowling and Billiards always has open bowling available with no long lines, unlike other centers. They have live music almost every weekend and great food at EJ's Bar and Lounge, with seating for 150 people. They have popular meals like the EJ Burger, pizza for the whole family, and famous EJ's Wings. Contact Sarah to book a party for friends, coworkers, or family at Madsen's Bowling and Billiards, just south of 48th and Holdridge.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At Fairway Meat Market, you're family, and as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Fairway has fresh cut meats, seafood, cheese, wine, and spirits, and a friendly staff that's always ready to help you find what you need. Stop by Fairway Meat Market today to plan your weekly meals in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn. Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstorats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Yes, this is Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket, our WWE Weekend Review show, and we're at that time to review the latest in WWE programming, SmackDown review from Grand Rapids here on Friday night. It was a very interesting night that ended up with John Cena delivering a pipe bomb promo. So a lot of interesting things going on there. And by the way, the crowd starting there in Grand Rapids, I don't know if that's just Grand Rapids or nationally, starting to cheer for John Cena. So it'll be interesting to see if the WWE has to pivot what they do here. But that pipe bomb promo might have kind of turned him closer to a babyface than what they want to do. Of course, as he has been the ultimate heel since his heel turn. We'll get to that here in a second. We did open the show with LA Knight calling out Seth Rollins. Instead, he gets Paul Heyman, who told LA Knight he's a big fan of his. But ultimately, LA Knight was not buying into it. He wanted a fight with Paul Heyman. He said, Paul, you can get the first shot. Turned his back, and Paul, of course, slithered his way out of the ring. Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed arrive after LA Knight turned his back on Heyman. And LA Knight was able to get a hold of a chair, though, to keep them off at that time. Of course, in wrestling, that's called an equalizer, one of my favorite terms that I use outside of wrestling. Of course, later in the night, we learned that Knight and Reed would have a match that night to kind of blow off some steam there. Interesting, though, that OTC and CM Punk were chanted at Heyman throughout the promo. So letting Seth get this group to LA Knight might better position them for a Reigns' eventual return there. But I do think LA Knight's a really good first heel babyface for them to go through. Of course, a lot of people, including Aki over here, who's not here tonight again, but has been big LA Knight fans. They already kind of had them run through Sami Zayn, but to go after kind of the top babyfaces in the company is a good way to make Seth's group look very scary. And I might as well get to it by the end of the night. They did have LA Knight and Big Bronson Reed go in a match, and it ended in disqualification. Not as important. Braun Breaker broke it up with a spear, but ultimately they just hit spears and tsunamis left and right until LA Knight was in a very bad way at the end of that segment. And I think that, again, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, these guys were hand selected to be in this big, this kind of next big heel faction with Seth Rollins. And that, spears and tsunamis, they can replay that over and over again because Breaker has the most devastating spear in the company right now. And that tsunami has already, it looks tough, right? I mean, that's a big, people get excited to see that. So if you do that over and over again, it can really kind of backs up how dangerous these guys are.
But we'll see if there's better things in store for LA Knight in the future. I would guess ultimately he's not going to win against these guys. At least he's going to need his group of good guys to come in and help save him. From there, we had the Queen of the Ring semifinal again as Asuka punched her ticket against Alexa Bliss. Now, I did love this matchup because it was tough to predict the winner in this thing. I mean, because they could have gone either way here, and they kind of teased that as well. They had a back and forth match with reversals and counters. Eventually, Asuka does get her knees up as Alexa Bliss was attempting a twisted bliss from the top rope, and Asuka, gets the win. I kind of already went over it. She seems likely, in my mind, to win the Queen of the Ring altogether and challenge Io Sky at SummerSlam. Next, we had Aleister Black against Kit Wilson of Pretty Deadly. The great entrance of Aleister Black is put on display, and that's really all we needed, and that's all they decided to show tonight because Ron Killings, R-Truth, attacked Kit Wilson and left him unconscious. Jamie Noble, others had to take Truth to the back, and of course, R-Truth was upset in the back. Eventually, Damian Priest got to his ear and told him to kind of focus and channel his anger on Cena, building up the main event for the night. Again, R-Truth against John Cena. Then we got a really good promo. I thought Cody Rhodes hitting the ring. Before he can speak, Jey Uso enters and re-enters. They replay his music again, lets you know how over that is. Sami Zayn hits the ring, tells each of those guys, and of course, these are all the guys they're left in the King of the Ring tournament, tells those guys they already finished their story. His moment to become world champion is now. Randy Orton interrupted and said that while he's a fan of Sami Zayn and would like to see him become a world champion, the time is not now. And that kind of set up our Sami Zayn Randy Orton match again, much like Asuka and Alexa Bliss. Tough to predict this one. I thought Sami Zayn had a better chance of winning this one because his storyline seemed to have a little more juice to it, I thought, than Randy Orton going after title number 15. If only because title number 15, like if he's chasing 17 of John Cena, would it behoove him to win 15 and lose it right away and try to get the 6? I think that's a little bit of a hole in that story. But in any case, this was a good matchup. A couple of eye pokes from each of the baby faces let you know they weren't afraid to get dirty to win this match. But ultimately, Sami Zayn, like many others, falls victim to an RKO out of nowhere. So Randy Orton now awaits the winner of tomorrow night's matchup between Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. So that will be interesting. We also had Nia Jax hit the ring. Tiffany Stratton followed and challenged her to a last woman standing on next week's SmackDown. Nia Jax laid out Stratton before the end of the segment. Naomi came out to try to cash in, but again was stopped by Nia Jax. So that's a recurring theme there. The only part I don't like about this is this makes Tiffany Stratton, who's getting better and looking less, her character at times was meant to look kind of naive. She's looking less naive, looking better on the mic, more confident, but challenging Nia Jax of all people to a last woman standing matchup. I know it's supposed to make her look tough, but it kind of comes off as stupid. It's not a good idea. So, I think they should have found a different way. And then, if you kind of had Nia Jax somehow get her match and then earn somehow to make it a last woman standing, then it would look challenging. Then it would look like, oh man, this is something to overcome for Tiffany Stratton. By having her ask for it again, it makes her look kind of, if not overconfident, but just a little bit silly. And especially when you figure she's going to win this thing against Nia Jax, which it has to be, I would figure is the expectation. I mean, they've done a lot to set up Tiffany Stratton in this position. I just would have ordered that a little bit differently. Still looking forward to that match. Then we had Charlotte Flair and Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green with a broken nose. Competitive match. Another reminder, Chelsea Green can go in the ring, but she eventually taps out to the figure eight, which I like to kind of protect that move, remind people how at other times when Charlotte Flair has you in a championship match and you're in that figure eight, how tough it's supposed to be, right? Well, Piper Niven, Alba Fire, Pounce, and Alexa Bliss ultimately makes the save for Charlotte Flair. You wonder kind of where this is going. Charlotte Flair was kind of dismissive of it all. She doesn't necessarily want the help from Alexa Bliss. Could head toward a tag team between the two. Could lead toward a feud. Likely will lead toward a tag team and a feud after that. So that should be exciting moving forward. But it's interesting to see Charlotte Flair move around when she's not in the title scene. Because it feels a little bit again beneath her. So we'll see what kind of happens there. Quickly got to go through it. Jacob Fatu refuses to tell Solo Sikoa that he loves him. Ultimately, Jacob Fatu is attacked by Solo Sikoa and JC Mateo. Jimmy Uso makes the save. I think it's a little bit early. I don't even think Jimmy Uso needs to be in this feud. Jacob Fatu is supposed to kind of be telling the story
that he only needs himself, all gas, no brakes. And it just feels like they just found something for Jimmy to do. If you were going to do this, I would have done it later. We already went over LA Knight and Big Bronson Reed. So finally, we get to R-Truth and John Cena. And this is where you might have seen, Truth. They brought him back mostly to the fans' delight. And you thought maybe they had changed their plans, had some big plans for him. It doesn't appear that was necessarily the case. If you're a Truth fan, you were probably not happy with what happened in this match. Very short match. Cena ultimately left with his belt once Truth was getting the upper hand, hits Truth with the belt, and Truth is out. I mean, there's like 15 more minutes of programming after this because John Cena gives his pipe bomb promo to CM Punk, but Truth is just out of it. So kind of wrote him off pretty quickly for what was a big and exciting return. And I don't know what's necessarily next for him, but for Cena and Punk, of course, like I said, Punk came out, they brawled. Cena got the better of him again using his title belt and then putting him through a table, then delivered a pipe bomb promo where he included mentioning TKO as well as AEW stars Cesaro, Dolph Ziggler, and Zack Ryder. So very interesting. Like I said, the most interesting thing is fans started to chant for Cena. So they got a bit of a problem maybe on their hand in WWE to try to make him more of a heel. We'll see if they're able to do it. We'll see more, and we'll talk more about it next week here on Nuclear Heat. Don't go anywhere. More programming on 93.7.
Are you looking to upgrade or improve the garage door on your home? This is Cameron Hall of Doors Plus. At Doors Plus, we guarantee to offer a wide selection of options from 5 leading garage door manufacturers,